One of the biggest questions in the wrestling community over the past couple of days is if anybody else should join John Cena and The Rock. Should they keep it as a duo or should they make it the final faction? Well, in today's video, we are going to be talking about 8 possible options who could join them. Now, before we get started, I guess the big question is why should anybody join them? Well, in my opinion, the big benefit to having somebody join them is the fact that John Cena is going to be retired in December. By December, and The Rock, of course, is only a part-timer. So by adding a couple of people to this, you could really help elevate their careers, which could help elevate the future of WWE. It also just helps it be a little bit more interesting during weeks when The Rock is off TV, so it's not just heel Cena. Now, for now, especially during this Cody feud, I don't think anybody needs to actually join them. I think you just keep it as Cena and The Rock. But down the line as we go, months ahead, then I do think it would be beneficial to add a couple of people to the group. So without further ado, here are 8 possible options. In at number 8, Ethan Page. Now, I'm not personally the biggest fan of this one, right? I'm not entirely sure if he's ready for this position or not. Maybe I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but that is my personal opinion. But the fact is, The Rock had a backstage segment with him on NXT just a few weeks ago, and he was the only person he had a backstage segment with. So it was very telling that The Rock chose him. He also, of course, said that line, "I'll see you on the main roster one day." Well, could that day be a lot sooner than we first expected? Very possibly. So Ethan Page is definitely a possible contender for this group. Now, I know everybody's going to hate me for the next one, but in at number 7, Charlotte Flair. Now, Charlotte Flair undoubtedly does not need to be in this group. It would not elevate her that much more from where she already is, in my personal opinion. But here is the thing, she's just such a natural fit, isn't she? And especially if they are considering, pushing her into the Hollywood type scene as well, it would make sense. So I said actually it wouldn't elevate her. It actually might elevate her a little bit more in the mainstream. But she doesn't necessarily need it, so I don't really want her in the group for that reason. But she would make a lot of sense. Plus, let's be real, since she's returned to TV, she's kind of felt a little bit stale. So doing this, giving her a much needed change, I think could help. Or they could just give her a little bit more to do on screen rather than just attack Tiffy each week. That would help her character too. But I do think this is one option. In at number 6, and hear me out on this one, Austin Theory. Now, Austin Theory needs a much-needed change in WWE. Vince McMahon brought him in as the guy who was meant to be the next top guy, and now he is a jobber. And a large reason for that is actually John Cena, because John Cena killed any bit of momentum this guy had when they had that promo battle. John Cena murdered him on the mic. So for John Cena, a heel John Cena, to pick Austin Theory back up and to elevate him to new heights, that would be absolutely brilliant. But no matter what happens, Austin Theory needs some change right now. He's in a really similar situation to what Cody Rhodes was in before he left the company, and before that Drew McIntyre was in before he left the company as well, where they were meant to be the next big guy, and they ended up kind of being a jobber. So if they don't do this, I do question whether Austin Theory should leave the company and kind of make his name, build his brand back up on the independent scene. In at number 5, this one I would love to see, but I'm not sure it will happen, that is Carmelo Hayes. Now, I won't shut up about the fact that I called him the next big thing when he was working as Christian Casanova on the independent scene, right? Barely nobody was talking about it. He only had a few thousand followers. And I said, this guy is the next big thing on the Wrestling Republic page. And nobody listened to me, apart from now they do, because he did become the next big thing in NXT. But since he got called up to the main roster, well, it's not really gone the way anybody expected, has it? Not to say it's been a bad debut year, because he has been on TV a lot, so that's a huge positive. But he's not really been booked like the big deal we expected him to be booked like. But him joining this faction would undoubtedly elevate him to new heights, for sure. I mean, pretty much instantly you could have him win the Intercontinental or US Championship. So this is what I undoubtedly love to see. Again, I'm not really sure they'll do it, but for me, this would be a dream come true pretty much. In at number 4, we have Bianca Belair. Now, this is one which I personally wouldn't do. Why? Well, we just had John Cena turn heel. I don't think we should turn another huge fan favorite heel in Bianca Belair. But I think that is the direction they're going in. Whether it's with The Rock or just on her own, I do think they're building up Bianca for a heel turn at this point. The fact that she barely cared about Naomi being attacked, I mean, on Raw this week, I mean, in the Chamber she obviously cared, but I mean, after winning the Chamber, she barely cared. She was celebrating. On Raw this week, she basically no-sold it and changed the subject to herself. I mean, they are very clearly building up Bianca for some sort of heel turn. Whether it's on Jade or it's on her own, I don't know, but I think they're building up something. And if you are going to turn her heel, if they are insisting on doing that, then putting her in this group would be absolutely genius. It would undoubtedly take her to new heights. She could become the big face of the company they wanted her to be, and in many ways she already is. She's already been on the cover of a WWE video game, but this would take her to the next level undoubtedly. But before we get into the top 3, who are my 3 picks for joining the faction, I do want to quickly just say, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, because here at Wrestling Republic, we create between 5 to 10 free videos every single week, and in addition to that, we have a live daily stream every single day at 3 p.m. Eastern in the United States of America, 12 p.m. Pacific in the United States of America, and 8 p.m. UK time over in the United Kingdom. As I just said, I said that twice, but I would really appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe, and let me know who you guys want to see in the faction down below. In at number 3, I so badly want this to happen, Omos. Now, we've pretty much not seen Omos for like a year in WWE at this point, and he went to Japan, he did some fantastic stuff in Japan, and he felt like a star, and he's only 30 years of age, so there is still so much time. I mean, this guy's got another 15 years left of his career at least, so they need to find a way to make him marketable. Well, he already is marketable. He's an absolute giant. What I meant was they need to find a way to get him over with the crowds, because that is the one thing which he didn't have when he was last on TV. Now, if they brought him back now, maybe he would be over with the crowds. But the fact is, this dude is 30. He has so much of his career ahead of him. 10 to 15 years easily. So you need to do something. And having him be the muscle for this faction, I think would be amazing. It would help get him over, it would help elevate him to new heights, and I would love to see it. And I'm a big believer that heel factions do need a muscle, right? Because it establishes them, as a big deal. It's somebody who can come in at any time when they run away and act cowardly and, hit a big move and take their opponent out. It can make them seem a lot more menacing rather than cowardly as well, just as a faction. So I would love to see this one. Makes perfect sense to me, and I really hope it happens. Obviously, we've got no teasers for this one, nothing like that, so it's kind of just me recklessly speculating, but it's the one that I would love. In at number 2, Jade Cargill. Now, Jade Cargill is just such a perfect fit for this faction. Even her color scheme, even the lightning shares and all of that, it's so similar to The Rock's. And for her to be in this faction and to go Hollywood, quote unquote, I think it would be brilliant. I don't even think this one needs that much explaining, because he just feels like such a natural fit as well. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen any interactions between Jade and The Rock, so it's not really like we've seen any teasers. But I still do think that Jade Cargill is probably the most likely out of any women's wrestler to join the faction, and I, for one, would absolutely love it. Now, in at number 1, and the one which I do think should happen, is Drew McIntyre. McIntyre feels like he's been screwed over and over and over again in recent years, so him just going, screw it, I'm going to sell out, would make a hell of a lot of sense. And I mean, he pretty much said the same thing to Cody last week on SmackDown too. I mean, he basically said, I wouldn't blame you for doing it. He makes a lot of good points. I mean, he practically told him to do it. Plus, we know that when Drew McIntyre signed a new contract with WWE, The Rock took him out for dinner and said the final boss owes you one. Plus, on the Raw Netflix premiere, The Rock whispered something in the ear of Drew McIntyre. Could this all be linked? I genuinely think it could be, and I really hope it is, because Drew McIntyre needs something to push him from a main eventer into a megastar, and this would do that. Plus, you could eventually have Drew McIntyre be the one to kick John Cena out of the final faction. Because no way is Cena going to retire as a heel. You are going to have to turn him face for his retirement event. And for Drew McIntyre to be that guy, I mean, that would be absolutely incredible. And Drew McIntyre is 39 years old right now, right? So you probably have another 5 or so years of him at the top. So for him to do this and then become the main eventer for 5 years, that would be absolutely terrific. And it would make a lot of sense. And I just really badly want to see it because Drew deserves better. He's been one of the most entertaining stars in the entire company over the last couple of years. So yeah, with Drew, it makes sense from a story standpoint, a just booking standpoint in general, and also a character standpoint. So I definitely want to see it. So yeah, overall, I would have Omos as the Muscle, Jade Cargill, Drew McIntyre, all three of those join The Rock and John Cena as part of the final faction. Do you guys agree with me? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!